Okay guys, just give me 1 second. I'm just setting up everything on my end here to make sure that it's all working correctly. Okay, I'm just sharing out this link to my followers and stuff. Just give me 1 sec. Got to make sure everyone knows about it, right? Okay, put that there. Okay. Boom. Okay, so I guess we can begin. Awesome. Let's just make sure that looks fine. I'll begin with myself. My name is Richard Delamore. However, I'm more commonly known as Evildea, which is my YouTube name. I'm sorry if this is a little bit jumpy at the moment. I don't actually have a stand for my iPad, which is what I'm using at the moment. And I'll be talking to you today mainly about Amikumu, which is a new app currently in development. It will be coming out in July for all language communities, coming out in March for Esperanto. Basically, the app will be a way to easily find people nearby who speak the same language as you or are learning the same language. Now, obviously, that has a lot of applications. So let's just jump right into it, shall we? First up, it's quite obvious what you would use this app for, yeah? So, for instance, if you're a Esperanto speaker, which was the initial market for this app, you want to find other people nearby who also speak Esperanto. It's hard to know who speaks Esperanto without carrying around like a badge or a flag or something like that, because you never know when you're walking down the street who speaks this language. Now, obviously, this doesn't just apply to that language community. Many language communities have this issue, especially with polyglots. We don't know what languages people speak when they walk by. In fact, there could be every person who walks by, they could speak some amazing languages which you just don't know about. And that's where this app comes in handy. The idea is that it's basically like a compass in your pocket to people nearby who speak the same languages that you're learning or you're interested in, or whatever, for whatever reason you're wanting to practice that language. So I'll start with the history of the app. Now, the idea of Amikumu has actually been around for a long time. And we're not the first people to actually try this. You can kind of get dodged up versions of this idea through other apps, but we're the first one that focuses just on languages and only on finding local partners. It's not about teaching you languages. It's not about selling products to you. It's just to help you find people nearby. It's actually really simple how it works. You literally open up the app. The first thing you see once you sign in is just a list of nearby people who speak the languages that you're interested in. You can click on them and send them a message. There's a small profile. That's it. We don't go and add all these extra bells and whistles because we want to keep it simple. So the history of Amikumu. The idea first originated probably back in 2001. I'm co-founder. My other co-founder is Chuck Smith. And he first had a similar idea back in 2001 using GPS technology, but back then the smartphones weren't smart enough. Technology just didn't exist, so he didn't really do it. And then back in 2008, a website launched by the same person, Chuck Smith, which was called Amikumu. And that website focused more on like the social connecting online. However, after a while it shut down because realistically, when you're practicing languages, you like to learn them online or learn them with an app. But when you want to practice them, you actually want to practice with real people, yeah? Sure, you can use Skype and you can speak with people across the internet, but it's not the same as sitting down and speaking with someone because you can't talk about contextual stuff. You can't talk about, hey, look what's going on in this restaurant here, or hey, look what's happening on the street here, and reference those things. When you talk straight from one person to another, you kind of can't use those contextual things and learn a language that way. So there was that website, and then that shut down, and then the idea of Amikumu was born. Now, it was truly born mid-last year. literally me and my co-founder had the idea at the exact same time. It was pretty crazy. He had the idea while at an International Youth Esperanto Congress. He was actually looking for Esperanto speakers and he couldn't find them. And then he thought, hey, this is kind of like Pokemon Go. How good would it be if you could catch language learners? So for instance, I'm learning Latin. How awesome would it be if I could use a Pokemon Go system to find someone who's learning Latin? And then he contacted me because we're good friends, and I literally had the same idea, and I was in the process of looking into getting investors. And our relationship worked out really well because he's the technical side of things. He's an iOS developer. He knows all that side of things, so he knows how to get it done. While I'm more the businessman. I know how to deal with the business, the legal side, even the finance side, that type of stuff. So it was kind of like a match made in heaven. So we thought about this idea and we thought, you know what, we could go down the traditional route. We could try and get financing for something like this, but let's see if the community actually wants this. Let's see if this is something that people really want. So we decided to go the crowdfunding route. And you guys have probably saw, I'm not sure about all of you because I don't know how recent most of you guys are to the Polyglot community or this Facebook group in particular, but we decided to launch a Kickstarter campaign, and we prepared for about 4 months. For anyone who's interested in Kickstarter campaigns, this should give you a good overview. When you try to raise money for a Kickstarter campaign, never just launch the page and hope for the best. Most of the work goes into preparing it, okay? So you'll spend months preparing it. So we reached out to all the big polyglots. We got Benny Lewis on board. We got Lindsay from Lindsay Does Languages. We got basically everyone that we could on board to try and get this thing happening. And we worked with a couple of different language learning communities around the world, and also big blogs and YouTubers, and we spent months at it basically. And then finally when the Kickstarter campaign launched, we were originally going for a goal of 8,500 euros, and we were sitting there going, are we going to make this? We don't know if we're going to make this. We don't know if the Polyglot community is strong enough to finance something like this, or even the Esperanto community, which is another big source that we were using, if they were strong enough to finance this. And in the first 24 hours, we smashed that target. We completely smashed it, and it was amazing seeing the support coming in from everywhere. Obviously, this was something people wanted. It wasn't just something that I thought was cool or something that Chuck thought was cool. This was something that other people liked. Now, for anyone who followed our campaign, you know by the end of the campaign, we got major sponsors on board coming from around the world. And we actually got, I think it was something like 26,000 euros out of an 8,500 euro goal. And it was amazing, the support. And that was all basically coming from only the Polyglot community and the Esperanto community, just those two communities. So you could see the potential for application there. So we decided to go with an app. Now, we looked into this and we actually tested the Polyglot community. We found out that the majority of people use either iPhone or Android. Very few people use Windows Phone or anything like that. So if you're watching this on Windows Phone, I feel sorry for you, because this app is only going to be on iOS and it's only going to be on Android. We're not even going to have a website version. There will be a website where you can go and sign up. And actually, I recommend you all go do that now. www.amikumu.com. It's in the description of this video. Go there, sign up to our newsletter, so that as soon as the app comes out, you can download it and use it. So we didn't want to have a website version because we figured that if you're going to look for people, you're going to be doing this from your phone, and you're going to be doing it spontaneously in the moment. It's very few people are going to want to use an actual website. So the way, obviously, it works is it's all GPS based. It picks up your location, and it creates a list of people nearby who have the same language interest and are basically within a reasonable distance. So it's going to show the 25 to 50 closest people. We're still working on exactly which is probably the best amount. And as I said previously, you just click, message, send a conversation, and if you want to continue that conversation in real life, like you think this person isn't a psychopath or something like that, you can just share your map position. That's the whole idea. So that's how it works in essence. Now, let me just jump through here. I've got a list of things. Obviously, when you sign up, it'll be very easy to sign up. You can either create an account, Not many details are needed. You just need a username, a email address, and a password. If you want a profile picture and a description, that's it. We don't collect any other details. You can sign up with Facebook or Google. Remember, this is still in development for those people who are just joining the stream now. Amikumu is still in development, not out yet. Comes out in March for Esperanto speakers, July for all languages. And when I say all languages, I mean all languages. We're going 7,000 languages across the board, plus 100 sign languages. We've actually found that the sign language community is interested in this app. For instance, the Auslan community here in Australia, they have an interest for this because it's the same as like any, oops, sorry about that. It's the same as any small language. It's difficult to find people nearby unless you know where to look for them. Okay, so I'm just going to jump ahead. Now, when it shows the list of people, it kind of shows the list as a fuzzy coordinate. So anyone who's closer than, say, 100 meters are just going to show up as 100 meters. We're doing that so you can't triangulate people and do stuff like that. Of course, you can deactivate it at any time so you can instantly go invisible if you don't want the app to be broadcasting your position, that type of security stuff. We got that all covered. You can block people if you don't want to speak with certain people or you find that they're just annoying and spammy. And that's pretty much the basic of how the app works out. I'm just going to quickly refresh the page, see if there's any questions so far before I jump into the team. Okay, so it doesn't appear to be any questions yet. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the team. There's myself. I'm a Esperanto YouTuber. That's basically my thing. I just make videos in Esperanto. I'm also learning Chinese as well. That's mainly because my wife is Chinese. I'm conversational in Chinese, like low-level conversational. But Esperanto is the only real fluent language apart from English. We got Chuck on board, Chuck Smith. He's our CTO developer. He speaks... You know what, I'm just going to load up the website now. If you want to go to amikumu.com, as I said before, it's in the description, and then hit the team tab. It's up the top, or I shouldn't say tab, it's more like a button up the top. You'll actually be able to check out the team, and you'll be able to see that we're all polyglots. So we can't, well, except for me. I guess I'm the only real non-polyglot, because I only speak English, Esperanto, and Mandarin. But the majority of team speak a range of languages. For instance, Chuck Smith, he speaks English, Esperanto, German, Spanish, French, Dutch, and American Sign Language. So, and Neil, who's our Android developer, he speaks English, Esperanto, French, and Catalan. Judith, she speaks, you've probably all heard of Judith. She's very well known in the polyglot community. She's our back-end developer. She speaks more languages than I can poke a stick at. German, English, Esperanto, Latin, French, Italian, Greek, Mandarin, Dutch, Spanish, Indonesian, Hebrew, Swahili. You know, I just look at that list and I'm just amazed. I don't know how people can learn that many languages realistically. I can't dedicate the time. I envy you people. And our graphics designer, she speaks a bunch of languages, including a few created languages. So everyone on board is basically a polyglot or understands the needs of these language communities. One thing you might have noticed so far is that everyone speaks Esperanto. This is probably the most unique aspect of our business, apart from the fact that we're creating an application to help people find other language speakers nearby, is that our working language actually isn't English, it's Esperanto. And we do that because our team is internationally based and English isn't actually the native language of a few of our team members. So it's actually just easier to communicate in Esperanto between us because we don't have to jump through all those idiom circles and stuff that you have with English. So that's probably an interesting side, little bit of information about us. So now I guess, let me just quickly jump over here. I'm just checking on the website again. So I guess I'll speak about things that, as I said, the most basic aspect of the app is just find people nearby, contact them, meet up. That's the whole idea. Of course, we're going to have additional features. We're going to have things like gold membership so that people who are interested in, for instance, instantly teleporting themselves to other parts in the world to see how many people speak a particular language in that area, how like condensed it is, maybe for like linguistic reasons or because they're traveling there or something like that. We'll have that as an additional feature in gold membership. And to just get an idea of how popular this Apple idea has been, before we even finished our Kickstarter campaign, we had over 16 sponsors. I'm happy for now to take questions, Jimmy, so just fire them away. I'll also answer questions after this is over. So yeah, feel free to throw questions. It makes it more interactive, I guess. So I'm more used to doing it that way as a YouTuber when I do these things. So yeah, we have a bunch of sponsorships come in. Funnily enough, this is a little bit of information for you guys. I don't know how much of you guys know about the artificial created conlang communities. It's an area that fascinates me. I know some of you guys aren't interested in this, but I figure I'd go through this. Most of our sponsors, I'd say half are about Esperanto organizations who have sponsored us, but that's half. Funnily enough, one of our biggest sponsors is the IDO Foundation. Now, a little bit of history there. Esperanto is the biggest international auxiliary constructed language in the world. But IDO was an attempt to make Esperanto better. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of whether it is better or not, because that's a debate for another day. But they actually became one of our biggest sponsors, funnily enough. So I guess that was a way to guarantee that IDO got into the system. They wanted it in there as a language that you could find people nearby. We're actually making it so you can find certain large constructed language communities. For instance, IDO would be one language. So if you're interested in Dothraki, we've actually got a Dothraki language ambassador, someone who speaks Dothraki as well as you could speak it. Klingon, those languages, if you're interested in that. Obviously, when it's not just for constructed languages, it's also for indigenous languages. Like, for instance, we've got people on the team who are particularly interested, or not in the team as language ambassadors, who are particularly interested in helping certain indigenous languages communities find each other. So for instance, in Australia, there's something like 250 indigenous languages. However, most of them, something like 90% of them, have less than 10 speakers. So you can imagine that something like this would be epically helpful for a learner to find someone who actually speaks that language. Obviously, there's the issue that most of the people who do speak those languages are of the older generation, so we're trying to work closely with those communities in order to get those people on the app. And I've mentioned several times in this video, and maybe it will interest you, there's something called the Language Ambassador System. We really want to work with polyglots around the world who are interested in particular languages. So for instance, if you have a real fascination in Catalan and you want to help promote this app in that community to get people learning that language, or people who are, my English is terrible today. Sorry, I've been in Esperanto conferences all day. So if you want to somehow help that language community, or you're a part of that community and you actively take part, that would be this app would be really useful for that, and we would love to hear from you. So contact us through the website. I've just got a question come in. What has been your biggest barrier in getting the app out? Actually, that's quite an interesting question. Biggest barrier so far? I don't think we've had a real barrier. Not one that's been like where we sit there and go, oh God, we can't do this. The biggest fear, I guess, was getting it financed. When we first came up with this idea, we were like, are we able to finance this? Like, we set the budget at 8,500 euros, which is terribly small for app development. Usually app development is like 50,000 plus euros or something like that. But since we had app developers and they were really passionate about it, they were willing to work for like nothing. So our biggest fear was financing it. And I guess since we jumped over that, we're quite hopeful now, and we've had so much interest in the app. However, I guess my next biggest fear is that when we launch in July for all languages, is that certain language communities aren't going to have many people using the app. And I'm afraid, for instance, say, let's just throw a random language out there, the Maori language out of New Zealand, for instance. Let's say if only 2 people sign up with that language, they're going to download the app, they're going to go, oh, I want to learn this, I'm going to add this as my language, as one of the 7,000 languages, and go, oh, I only see one other person nearby. This app isn't very useful, delete. That's my biggest fear. So that's why we're running this ambassador program, to try and get interest in as many language communities at once. We've got the test language community, which is the Esperanto one in March. So we're not too concerned about that. We know it's going to take off in that community. There's people are basically harassing us every day. They're like, is it ready? Push Chuck, get a whip out, make them work. So we're really confident about that. But once we go to 7,000 languages, plus sign languages. We've got real concerns there in reaching enough people in every community. There's also cultural things you have to be aware of. For instance, in the sign language communities, I'm not a sign language speaker. Signer, I should say. I'm not a sign language signer. And I'm not someone who grew up culturally in that community, so I don't understand it like they do. And I can appear as an outsider to that community, which is another cultural issue. And they can see it as me trying to push an idea onto them that they don't need. They've got their ways of doing things. So I guess the biggest issues are reaching enough people when it comes out for all languages, cultural issues. Some cultures just don't see the need for this type of app or don't understand the need straight away. So it's kind of communicating the idea of how this can help. There's also some communities, like certain indigenous languages, don't want people learning their language. So they probably won't like the idea of even being available as a searchable option. Although we don't teach it, they may actually complain and say, hey, we want this taken down. And then we're in that position of like, oh, okay, who's the authority on this? Do we take it down? Do we block it? Or do we keep it going? These are all concerns that need to be overcome. But there hasn't been a real barrier. So I guess that's that. Let's jump to the next spot. So I guess there's a lot of people that go, okay, this sounds like a cool idea. Well, why don't you just use meetup.com or any of those other websites that help people find people nearby? Well, meetup.com is awesome. I use it. I use it for the Esperanto local meetups and stuff like that. But the idea of Amikumu, although you're able to organize events, that's going to come later in the year, probably near the end of the year. We've got a time frame. And if you were part of the Kickstarter campaign, you know the time frame. But how it's different is that this idea is based on whim of the moment. So if you have 5 minutes, you're at the station and you're waiting for someone, you can literally pull out the app and go, oh, there's someone nearby. Oh, this is awesome. Hey, do you want to meet up? Oh, cool. Let's spend 5 minutes, and then you just make a friend. So it's not like the internal idea of the app is not, hey, let's organize this meetup, let's have it for this set date at this set location, although that will be possible. It's mainly just find people in the moment, because we live in a fast-paced world now where we're always like moving, going forward, got to do this, got to do that. I can't schedule out time. If I have time, great. So, and it's also to help people find other people locally. I don't know if there's another Polyglot in my apartment building. For all I know, there could be a guy upstairs who speaks Esperanto, like a language that I love, and I don't even know about it. And this app could help me find them. So it's a way of helping people connect as well. So I guess that's what makes us really unique. I guess I want to speak a little bit about the time frame now. We tested the I don't know how to say it in English. In Esperanto, would say antau alpha versio. So that would be the version of the app that comes before the alpha version. We tested that in a big Esperanto meetup in Germany. We're doing the beta test coming up in like a week or so, where we start testing that. We've actually started rolling people out already. So if you were on the Kickstarter campaign, you're going to get emails real soon. So I hope you're looking for that. That's the word. Thank you, Philip. Pre-alpha version. Thank you so much. We're also doing, with the website, we're designing the website so that people can actually log in and translate the app to their languages. So they can translate the app and the website directly to whatever language. We're actually hoping to become the most translated website in the world. So that's like kind of our next mission. Then we're doing the beta test for all languages at the Polyglot gathering, which is happening in May. So if you're going to be there, you're going to be one of the first to try it out for all languages. And of course, since there'll be a bunch of polyglots there, you're going to instantly see people in the app. Obviously not the most useful situation because you know everyone around you is a polyglot, but at least when people start leaving the gathering and going to other locations, you'll start seeing people disappear and going in different directions and stuff. That would be pretty cool. After that, we're going to, yes, I spoke about the timeline for the app. Next thing we've got is events is coming up in September. So you'll be able to start organizing events within the app. That will be one thing. One thing, I'm just opening up and refreshing my page just here. And then we've got events and clubs, so you'll be able to put in localized clubs by November. And we're moving into interests by next February. Not this February, the February coming after. That's a long-term goal. So the idea is that that not only do you find someone who's interested in a particular language, you find someone that's interested in a particular language with the same type of interest as you. Obviously, we need a massive user base to make that happen. That's why that's last. But how awesome would that be? Let's say you're interested in, I don't know, fishing and speaking Klingon at the same time. I'm just picking out of my head here two random things. You could literally put that into the app. That's an idea. That would be our ultimate goal. So, as I said, we've had a massive amount of interest across different communities for this app. I'm just going to pull up some of the things that we've had. We've had Benny Lewis, who's massively jumped on board. He loves this idea. Professor Gilad Zuckerman, if you went to the last Polyglot, I think it was Gathering, I think it was the last one, he actually spoke there, and he sees the potential for this app in helping revive local languages. We've had, as I spoke about, the ambassador program. If you're interested in helping us reach certain language communities, go to the website. There's an information form. Just contact us, or info@amikumu.com. Website link is in the description. If you have a particular interest, like for instance, we had someone out of Sweden contact us and say, hey, we've had a lot of immigrants come in, and I'm working with those communities, and I can see potential to help them find people who speak the local language and people who want to speak the languages of the countries where they come from. So there's lots of different ways we could use this app, and we're always open to different ideas. So if you have any ideas at all, just contact us, info@amikumu.com, or if you want to be an ambassador for your particular language, contact us there as well. There's also benefits to being an ambassador as well. If you help us a lot, then we're going to be referencing you as being basically the go-to authority in that language community. So if you run a blog or a YouTube channel or something like that, and you want to work with us, we would love to hear from you. So that's basically Amikumu overall. Our social media website addresses and all that type of good stuff. I'll probably put that in the comments later, but we're Facebook/Amikumu app. We're also on Telegram if you use Telegram. Telegram is like all the buzz in the Esperanto community right now. It's like an instant messenger. And you can send voice, video, all the good stuff. We're on Twitter. We actually have Twitter accounts in multiple languages. The most active ones at this stage is Esperanto and English, but as we start growing and we start progressing, especially into other language communities, we're going to launch our, we've already launched it, but we're going to start activating our French, our Spanish ones. And of course the website as well. So basically, before I end this off, I know this hasn't been the longest of broadcasts, but before I finish this off, if you have any questions now, shoot them in the comments below. I'm going to keep this going for a little bit. I'm going to look for some information about communities that have already shown some interest in Amikumu, and then I'll wrap this up. So let's have a look. So Jimmy, question, why did you decide to create a brand new app which seems unique for some features, but the community isn't quite used to Hello Talk? Okay, so sorry, I was just reading the comment from Jimmy. We've played around with Hello Talk, and Hello Talk does a lot of things. However, it's also restricted in the amount of languages, and it has many downsides. I don't want to diss any particular app. I'm not out here to diss people. I just want to say that what we do is very focused. We just want to help people find people nearby who speak a particular language. Doesn't matter the language. One of the biggest issues with all these other apps, and as I said, I'm not dissing other apps. I love all these other apps, is the problem that they focus on the big languages, the giants, or the ones with the most active communities. And we want to look after the little guys. We want to help every language that we can. It doesn't matter how small that language is. We're even helping certain conlangs. As long as people can show that there's enough interest in that language, we'll do it. If it's a small indigenous language, it's going to be in there. It's going to be in there. If people are using it for that, I can't say, but we will make it available. That's our mission. We understand the Esperanto community because we come from that community, that there can be a lot of bias against certain languages. Some people say, why would you learn that language when no one speaks, or you can't make money from it? Or why would you learn that language that's dying and has no economic value anymore? Or why don't you do this or that? We want to help everyone, and that's why I think it's probably something really helpful for the polyglot community, because polyglots generally just want to learn languages, whatever interests them. We don't really do it for economic reasons, I guess. Some of us do, like we learn the basic ones because, you know, it helps with our careers, but you know, learning Latin, unless you're going to work at the Vatican or you're going to become a professor in those types of ancient languages, it's not really going to get you a job. It's something you do because, you know, you love it. You're passionate about it. So that's what we want to do. We want to help people connect. That's our goal. We just want to help people connect. So if there's any other questions, feel free to shoot them. I'm just opening up something that I'm very passionate about. I've spoken a few times, the Ambassador Program. Again, I'll say it, and you're probably getting really tired of this repetitiveness, but I'm going to do it anyway. Contact us at info@amikumu.com if you have a particular language that you want to help promote in this app and also this app to that community. I want to give you an idea of some of the communities that have shown real interest so far. Kalasha, which is a language out of Pakistan. 5,000 speakers. It almost died off. However, the language, oh, one second, someone just asked, how are you funding this project? I already mentioned that we previously raised the funds that we need through Kickstarter. That's going to keep us going for a year. After that, we're going to bring investors on board, as any good business needs to in the long run to keep it going. Of course, we have the gold membership, which is another thing, so that you can pay if you like the idea of the app and you want to get extra features. Not necessary to actually use it, but just, you know, bonus type of things. So I'm going to continue on. Kalasha, which comes out of Pakistan, northern Pakistan, is one of the few languages that doesn't use the Arabic script there, actually uses a Latin script. They have shown a real interest because they're really big into adopting online tools. Yoruba, which is a language out of Nigeria. We've had a lot of interest from that one, funnily enough, because there's a lot of speakers of that one, particularly in Britain and other parts of Europe, obviously because immigrants have moved there and they want to help their language or pass it on to the next generation. We actually did an interview with a Yoruba blogger. You can read that on our Facebook page. Other languages, the Yiddish community, funnily enough. Yiddish is similar to Esperanto. It's one of those languages that's spread across the world but doesn't really have one central spot. I guess with Yiddish you can kind of find a lot of Yiddish speakers centralized in Israel and other parts of the US, but it's one of those languages which is generally spread around, so it has the same type of thing. However, the Yiddish community also, from what I've learned, has that cultural thing where some people are like, this is not something that we want outsiders, while other people are like, yeah, we want outsiders. So it's been fun jumping through that hole. Cherokee, which is a language out of the US. We've had some interest come from that language community as well. Auslan, the sign language in Australia. We actually have an ambassador in that community, someone who's really passionate about it. And funnily enough, they're also an Esperanto speaker, so that worked out well. As I mentioned, a few constructed languages, Indigenous Australian languages. We have Hebrew, which is another language community. We have a few people representing that one. We have a few other smaller languages out of the US. We have ambassador in the Maori community, Chinese, Scottish Gaelic, Swedish, and obviously the bigger languages we've got ambassadors. But it doesn't matter if you think, oh, they've already got it. Contact us anyway, because you know we're always looking for opportunities. Okay, I've just got another question coming in. Yeah, so Jimmy said this is basically like a Uber idea. It works great if everyone's using it. Obviously, we have issues in, say, smaller towns and stuff like that. This is why we followed that particular launching platform. A lot of people have asked us, why did you launch first in Esperanto? Obviously, because our team are all Esperanto speakers. But besides that, the great thing about Esperanto speakers is that everyone is by definition multilingual. They speak Esperanto and some other language, and it's not always English. And usually Esperanto speakers speak several languages. So it works out quite well. So in March, because we have so much interest in the Esperanto community, it's crazy right now. In March, when we launch, we're going to have a massive amount of sign-ups in that community, and Esperanto speakers are spread across the world. So we're going to get a basic coverage in most big cities, which is going to work out well. We're going to have at least a few people in every big city that speak a large range of languages. So that when we do launch in July, then when people sign up, they're going to at least see one or two people nearby. Because we're based on current estimates, we're reckoning by July that we'll have at least 5,000 plus users using the app. That's based on current market research. But obviously, we want a lot more. You know, we're looking at getting really large numbers, 100,000 plus, to cover most areas, or at least get people close enough within driving distance. The ultimate goal is that when you open the app, you see someone within walking distance. Now, we're not crazy. We know that's a massive amount of work on our part, but we reckon we're going to have at least enough people locally in all the big cities to make people want to continue using this app and push it around verbally. Now, obviously, you guys can help us. You know, the best way you can help us is go to our website, amikumu.com, sign up to the email list if you haven't already, and spread this broadcast around, or spread our website around, or anything, you know, anything related to us. We've done numerous interviews across multiple language communities, so you're bound to find an article at least in one of your languages, and if not, feel free to contact us and we'll do it in our language. I'm just got a few more questions come in, so you have more than one ambassador. At the moment, we're sticking with one ambassador per community. However, the bigger the language communities, we're going to have multiple ambassadors, because certain people are going to be ambassadors within certain regions. So for instance, English, it doesn't make sense to have one ambassador for English, because English is spread across multiple continents and countries. But certain smaller languages, we'll probably stick with one ambassador, and then they can kind of tell us the best way to work in that community. The ambassador is kind of someone we work with. So we don't just go, hey, you know, spread this for us, spread this for us, spread for this for us. It's kind of like a two-way conversation. We go, hey, so we want to try and grow in this community. What do you recommend we do? Is there something we should be looking at? Should we be attending a certain event? Should we be helping spread certain stuff? You know, how can we work with you to give us both the best benefit here? You know, we're trying to connect people, and you know your community best. We're outsiders to your community, so you know the best about it. Another question, mi volas havi viajn... Okay, that one's just a silly question. Ignore that one. He just wants these. Yep, that looks like all the questions. So I think I've covered all the essentials right now. If anyone has any other questions, I will do them after this broadcast. I'll comment in the comments below, so feel free to keep commenting afterwards. I'll be answering for as long as needed. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. One last time, go to our website, amikumu.com, sign up. Go to our Facebook page, our Twitter page, just type in Amikumu in the address bar. There's a link in this description. And you know what, guys? This idea works when we work with you. So if you have any ideas, contact us. We're fully open to working in any way we can with different language communities. We love languages. You know, everyone in my team is an insane polyglot besides me. I speak 3 languages. You know, it's funny when you say, everyone's a polyglot besides me. I only speak 3 languages. You know, if I go to my hometown, it's like a small little town down in Tasmania in Australia, and people go, you speak 3 languages? I can't even speak English. And I feel like so special, but then I join the polyglot community and people like speaking 10, 12 languages, and I'm sitting here going, damn, I feel like I'm an embarrassment. Like, I have catching up to do, but that's besides the point. We love languages here. So that's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I'm going to wrap it up now, and I will respond to any other comments in the descriptions below. Have a great day. Keep at your language learning, guys. You know, keep smashing it, and I hope to see you all eventually in Amikumu.